Hey everybody! Today I'm going to be making my Nana's homemade sticky buns with walnuts. For that you're going to need 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm using pink Himalayan, 1/2 cup of softened butter, 1 cup of mashed potatoes, 2 eggs, 2 1/4 ounces of active dry yeast, 1/2 cup of sugar. I'm using Splenda, 1 1/2 cup of warm water to activate the yeast, and about 6 cups of flour. Okay, so in the 1.5 cups of water, you put it to about 110 degrees, and then you put your 2 packages of yeast in and you activate that and you leave that sit. Okay, so in your mixer, you start adding your ingredients, your 2 eggs, your sugar, your potatoes. Start with 2 cups of flour, and then you keep gradually adding your flour to form a dough. And don't forget to add your yeast mixture. Okay, so that's what my dough looks like. And I have about that much flour left, but I'm not going to put it in because I don't want my dough to be too dry. Okay, so you get a big pan that you could put your dough in so you could leave it rise for about an hour. And I'm going to just give it like a light coating of Pam so then it's easier for me to get out. So once you got your dough in your pan, you'll put a towel over it and leave it rise for about an hour. Okay, so while your dough is rising, we'll move on to the second step, which is your filling. Now for that you're going to need 1/2 cup of sugar. I'm using Splenda, and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon and 2 tablespoons of softened margarine or butter, whichever you want to use. Don't melt your butter yet. I'll tell you when to melt it, but get your cinnamon and your sugar and mix them 2 together and set them aside. Okay, so after you got your cinnamon and sugar mixed together, we're going to move on to our third step. You're going to need 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 cup of honey, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 cup of softened margarine, and about a cup of walnuts. Then you're gonna need 3 9-inch round cake pans. Okay, put your brown sugar, your cinnamon, your butter, and your honey in your saucepan. Put it on low and keep mixing it. Okay, after it's all melted and it kind of looks like this, just keep it on the stove on low until you're ready to do the next step that I tell you. Okay, so when your dough rose about an hour, punch it down and then divide it into 2. Okay, so once you have it divided in half, you take your 1/2 onto a floured surface and you roll it into about an 18 by 12 inch rectangle. Okay, so when you have it roughly around 18 by 20, then you get your cinnamon, your sugar, and your melted butter. I'll show you what you do then. So you get your melted butter and you brush your dough, the whole thing. Then you get your cinnamon and your sugar and you sprinkle it, and you do half on this dough and half on the other dough. Like such. Okay, so when you're all done, you roll it up like you do a jelly roll. You just take it and you roll it all up. Okay, so when you got it all rolled up, you cut it into slices. My Nana said you get 12 in it, but I don't know. I didn't cut mine yet, so I guess cut them as big as you want them. We'll see. Okay, so I got 8 pieces out of my log. Okay, so you get your pans and you spray them with Pam or whatever you want to use to grease them. And then you get your mixture here and you divide it into your 3 pans. You put equal amount in each. Okay, now that you have your mixture in all 3 of your pans, you get your walnuts and you distribute them into all 3 of your pans evenly. Okay, so when that's done, then you get your log that you cut and you start putting them in your pans. Okay, when you have them in your pans, you let them raise for a little bit. Don't forget to do your other half of dough. And while you're doing this, preheat your oven to 350. Okay, so when they're all done and your oven is preheated, put them in for 350 for about 30 to 35 minutes. Check them and make sure they're done. Okay, so after about 30 to 35 minutes and your sticky buns look like this, take them out and then you flip them onto a plate. And that's what she looks like once you flip her. I hope y'all enjoy.